So today we're going to cover how Kinsey tackles security reporting for both the S3 product line and for Landmark. I'm going to go through a little bit of a PowerPoint presentation just to kind of give you a high-level overview of what we're trying to accomplish, and then we'll jump in and actually look at the product for both product suites from Lawson, and I'll talk a little bit about the technology, how where this application can live if you're running Cloud Suite now, or if you're Landmark V11 on-prem, or if S3 is hosted or on-prem. We support all those different environments. So a little bit about Kinsey. So founded in '83, been a Lawson partner since '97, so over 22 years now. We've been doing net new implementations and upgrades for Lawson for a long time, and we do a lot of security reporting work and security setup and configuration. So we built these applications really for our consultants to be able to use when they're going through security projects, and found that a lot of our customers really liked the application and kind of wanted to keep it for ongoing audits and reporting that they needed. So we built a number of different queries behind this, specifically that their clients, their auditors were asking them for. So you're going to get your traditional user access reports and actor reports, but we really built some other things around all of our tools that give the auditors login information, last activity by users, information out of the employee file about terminated employees, those types of reports as well. And currently we have over 100 implementations of what you're going to see today. So the LS reporting, obviously not 100 of Landmark, but of the LS reporting and Landmark combined, there's over 100 clients nationally running the applications. So going the wrong way. Let me tell you a little bit about the other solutions and all the solutions we provide, and then what we're going to be covering today. So just a minute on this. So those of you that have known Kinsey for a while or have used our products, we do other things than just reporting. So we have segregation of duty application, again, for both Landmark and S3. Security auditing, so that's all changes made to security. We'll track those changes, report back on those. Our modeling application allows you to create what-if scenarios, and if you were to make a change in security, who would be impacted by that change? Those applications on security side we won't be going through today, just reporting. But as you build out this suite of products from us, and if you started with security reporting, any of these can be added on. So I can tell you, based on policies that would deliver for segregation of duties, the 250 or so policies would deliver, what of your users are in violation of those policies. So we deliver all the rules behind them, we deliver the policies, and it covers closing procedures, inventory control, purchasing, requisitions, payables, receivables, HR payroll. So we look at where your users might have access to specific forms or tokens within Lawson that would allow them to create transactions that might cause problems in the application that auditors aren't going to like to see. So for example, you shouldn't be able to start a vendor and also process an invoice. We don't want somebody to have that level of access. So we not only provide the policies, but all the rules behind it. On their transaction applications, this is where we're looking at activity inside your application. So anywhere a user has been within Lawson, we'll tell you the form, the action they took on that form, it was an inquiry or change, the key to the record, the user, the date and time, and we do this again for both sides, for Landmark and S3. And then a deeper dive into that is where we audit the transaction, the data on the form. So that would be any change to any field on a form. We'll tell you when that change was made, who made it, etc. So we can do that for any of the 7,000 forms on the S3 product, and then of course everything on the Landmark side as well. But today we're just going to be going into security reporting. So let me talk first off a little bit about the structure of what we're reporting on here. So the S3, this is a little bit summarized, but S3 is laid out by user, where we define roles, we define security classes, which is a certain task within Lawson, and then all the objects that belong to that. Now this graphic here only shows forms, but the security class would include tables, securable types, programs, categories. Most of you would know how those work. A user then can have any combination of roles, can have more than one, and of course they also have things outside of roles that are attached to them, attributes, identities. So we want to report on all these at the user level, or I can report at the role level or security class level. So looking from the top down, we want to be able to report at a user level maybe how they would get access to a particular form and how many different ways they get to that form. So we're going to be able to give you reporting that's going to show me at the user level, for instance, how they get to AP 10.1 and what that rule is. And we'll draw that map and we'll show you that they can get there through AP inquiry, they can get there through AP maintenance. We also have reporting that comes back and tells you when you have conflicting access like this, what level of access is going to really win for that specific user. So in Lawson, they go with least restrictive access wins. So if I have a rule that is inquiry only on AP 10.1, and I also have an all access will win. And we have reports that you can turn over to your auditors where we display just the least restrictive access, so they'll know exactly what level of access that user would have. Now conversely, we want to look at this model from the bottom up. So I can also run reports that'll reverse this, and I can look from the bottom down, starting down at AP 10, and say now go up the tree and tell me every security class AP 10 belongs to, every role that those classes belong to, and every user that has access. So we just don't want to look at this from a top-down perspective at the user level. I want to be able to start anywhere in this model and drill up or down and invert it if I have to. And we can do that with our reporting. Now, similarly, in Landmark, this is somewhat how Landmark is laid out. Now, there's a couple pieces here missing, but the core of what we're trying to do is give you, again, at the actor level, what are their roles, what are the security classes, and what are the objects or business classes. So comparable in Landmark would be a business class is comparable to a form. So when you see employee, HR 11.1 is similar to the employee now. So when you get into the Landmark side, if those of you have not gone in there yet, you're not going to see forms anymore. You're going to see business classes that are comparable to what you had before. So again, we're going to produce reports for you at the role level, class level, and actor level, and can look at those either top down or bottom up. So on the report feature set, we're going to give you some of the core functionality that you would get out of some of the Lawson reports, but we've tried to expand on that to give you quite a bit more and make it much more flexible. So you're going to get, as you can see on the left, these are some of the reports. I'm going to get attributes and identities and all the user detail, roles, how they're defined, how security classes are defined. But we kind of go beyond that and give you some advanced filtering and some notification options. So not only will it allow you to save reports with parameters in them, you can email those off as notifications. So if you do security reviews and you want a department manager to review their employees every quarter, you can have a report that goes out and says, here's the level of access, either at the role level or all the way down at the detailed object level. And these can be automatically reported. So your IT department won't have to come back and constantly generate reports every quarter or whatever, every 6 months, whatever you might be. Those can all be automatically generated for you. We'll also have historical reportings and comparisons. So if we'll take a snapshot, or you can take one manually in our application of how your security model currently exists, and you can run reports back for that point in time. So if you wanted to go back and look at what did security look for me on January of 2019 or February 1st of 2019, you can run reports back at that point in time. You can also compare your security to any point-in-time snapshots. So if I want to know what has changed between my user role assignments that are out there now and how they were 6 months ago, we'll run that report and show you where those changes are. And we, like any other report, we can run that to the detailed object level. So if just a rule has changed on a particular form, I can show you what changed inside that security class. So all that functionality is going to be standard within the application. Now the S3 dashboard comes standard like this, except for favorites. You create your own favorites up on the right. So what we're doing here is trying to give you a lot of different reports. There's like 40 different queries or something on here of the information that we can pull out of Lawson. If you have HR and payroll and you have an employee master file, we have an HR audit section that will actually reach in and pull things like the department, the termination date, the process level. So some of your reports can include that information. So if you're trying to run user department reports, we can filter by department in that case. But it is required that you have Lawson HR payroll to do that. We also have things like you see unlinked objects where you might have clutter laying around your environment, where you have roles that were never assigned to anybody. You have security classes that are starting to be defined but have never been attached to a role, that type of thing. But I'll go ahead and show you when we go into the demo side how a lot of these different reports work. But you'll see on the user side how we'll go down to all objects that are in there. So I can get a user form reports, I can get user programs, I can get securable types, tables, whatever it might be, whatever object you're looking for is going to come out on those detailed reports. So on a couple of these reports, what I'm going to hear is that this is a matrix. So we have matrix reports at the user level, security class, and role levels that'll give you here just a high-level overview of what roles are attached to a specific user. If I ran the role matrix, it would be roles and security classes. Any of these X's you see here, you can drill into the detail of what's the exact assignment for that user or what belongs to this role. But we wanted to give you an easy way to view what roles are assigned to what users, kind of just as a matrix level here, which you could export to Excel and work with. Now, if you want to see it at a detail level, this is where most customers are looking at, where they might have some conflicting access, where somebody has access to a form more than one way, or exactly what level of access do they have. So here, I'm looking at user A. Davis, and I see the role assigned, I see the security class assigned to that role, I see the form that's assigned to that security class, the available function code, and the actual rule. So we're always going to give you the available function code so that you'll know when you see something that says all access, does that form actually have more than maybe inquiry? So there's many forms in Lawson that you can know the inquiries on, but you'll have the permission set at all access. So we want to be able to tell you what level of access that really is and what a person can do on that form. So this would obviously scroll down up in the tight corner here. I can see I have 20,000 records, of which I can show you a few, but this would list every role, every security class, every object for that user. Now, along with our standard security reporting, we provide an Excel document we call the Security Analyzer. This was really put in place for auditors because they didn't want our clients to be able to do a couple things. One was manipulate the filters to know what actually showed up on a report. So most of our reports, you can pick which users, which roles, which security classes. You have the ability to change the filtering on the data you want. On this report, because we're using it for audit purposes, we only allow you to pick what users you want on the report. You cannot control or filter out intentionally any role or any security class that you might not want displayed. Now, we also allow this to go straight to PDF versus going to Excel, because again, auditors have told our clients, we don't want something that can be manipulated. So if it goes to Excel, you can change it in Excel and then create the PDF. So there's a couple of reasons we had to do this. And then we also put it in a format where we can line our users up side by side. So you'll see here in columns G, H, I, J, in kind of that orange text, that's the user ID. And underneath it, I'm going to get the permissions they have for any one of the objects that you see on the left-hand side. So at the bottom of this, you'll see all the different tabs that we have. So we're going to have your categories, your fields, your elements, your programs, your tables, and I'm actually on the token sheet for this Excel document. And what I'm seeing here is that least restrictive access. So we've resolved that conflict. So if somebody gets this report that isn't familiar with Lawson and doesn't know how to resolve what level of access will this person actually get, we're going to roll that up to the actual cell underneath that person's column. Now, if you wanted to see how, in fact, do they get access to this and what roles in security class, we use grouping in Excel. So off to the left-hand side, you see there's a plus mark. And I could click on the plus and would expand, and it would tell me all the different ways a user gets access to this form, all the different permission levels they have, and why we resolved it to what we did. So you can always get the detail behind how we got to this conclusion. But if you just go down to whatever critical forms that you're looking for and go across the page, you can see all the different users that you've included for this version of the report. You can see what level of access they have. So we've tried to make this something that somebody who doesn't understand Lawson security can just look at to see the end result of what level of access a user is going to have. So now let's look at Landmark. So it's going to be very comparable, right? We're going to have the actor detail. We're going to have reports with the full LPL, which is the Lawson's pattern language. we're going to actually have that pattern language parsed out, because if you haven't got into, and I'll show you a little bit about that, if you haven't got into the pattern language yet, we don't do things anymore where it's HR 11.1 has, add, change, delete access. It's more of employee is accessible except. So it reads in more of a paragraph form. And these are going to be pre-built security classes, pre-built roles, and you can modify, or you can copy and modify those, but you can't change those standard templates. So we're providing reports that do a number of things to compare any security class that you may have modified. We'll compare it to the standard for you and tell you maybe what has changed. But we're going to give you the same kind of matrix reports, unassigned reports, and then still be able to do historical reporting, email notifications, comparisons, those type of reports we'll be able to do as well. So a landmark dashboard is going to look comparable to the S3 dashboard. We've added some additional things recently under the system that allows you developers of the landmark security to do some things between relationships and how they get to data. It's complex within landmark on how we find out which business classes are related and which fields are related between those business classes. And so we've drawn some maps and done some things for anybody doing security work other than just making provisioning on role assignments. If you actually have to get into the pattern language in Lawson and develop these relationships for conditional logic, you kind of need this system information. Now the reports are going to look comparable, but you'll see here where I've got different columns where I've actually broken out this pattern language. So let me go ahead and mute some people here. So you see here where I have the object is, on the first line is actor, and you see like the second one it says all fields excluding the actor and the person name. So this is in a specific business class called actor, in a security class called actor inquiry access. So what we've done is we've parsed out this language that I'm going to show you here. This is the pattern language that Lawson has written security in. So you can see it's in a paragraph form, and these can scroll, I don't know, 100 lines long, even long enough that you cannot export this to Excel because it exceeds the cell limits within Excel. So what we've done is we've taken this and said, we can break this out. Well, we can parse this section out into a line, parse this section out into a line, and I can do it by module, by business task, by business class, whatever that object might be. So we'll allow you to see it both as full LPL, or we'll allow you to parse it so you can break that down and really decipher, and you can export that then, once it's parsed, out to Excel to work with the Lawson LPL that is so difficult to decipher when it's in a full paragraph form. And then we'll also provide that same matrix. So here I can see what actors, what roles, and in this case I'm showing you, if you click on any one of these X's, we can drill further down in. So all of our reports you can navigate down or up through the model. In this case, I have the option to drill either on more information about the user or more information about the role. So I'm going to jump to this real quick because I always forget to go over this. At the end of the presentation, we run out of time. So real quick, this product installs on a VM, and I'll show you where that can live on the next slide. But this is available for anybody still on 9, version 10, version 11 on-prem, or Cloud Suite. So that's all supported by us. The installation generally is all done remote, can be done within 1 to 2 days, depending on the applications. If it's just security reporting, we're generally done with that in a day, and you're running reports the next day out of Lawson Security or Landmark. Right? And then the training, we provide user manuals, we provide online videos, and then we'll do training that generally really takes less than a day, because once you see how these work, it's very intuitive how you get through this data. And so generally it's a 2 to 3 hour training session, maybe a couple of those, and you're running, and you won't need us for much support going forward. So on the technology side on how we can configure this, because we get asked this question all the time, and inevitably I'm sure clients out there are running all of these environments. We have a lot of clients that actually we're supporting every one of these now with somebody. Most of our clients are on-prem version 9, 10, or some of the Landmark applications on-premise. But you can also you can have it hosted at Lawson. You can be single tenant. You can be multi-tenant. Our application in VM can live in the Lawson cloud. It can live on-prem. You see the different options here, right? So we're not limiting you to where this Kinsey VM can live. So if you want everything in the cloud, Lawson will spin up this server for you. So if you're single tenant or multi-tenant, it doesn't matter for us on the Lawson side. We'll support all these different environments. So let me now jump over and actually show some product here. Okay. So this is our S3 where we do the dashboard where we're doing a number of things with our security auditing, security modeling, but what I want to focus on here is really just security reporting and show you how this works. So I'm going to go ahead and pick a server and pick a profile that I want to work with. Let me make sure I'm in the right spot here. Let me go here. Make sure I get to the right place. All right, so now I'm on my S3 server with a default profile. Make this a little smaller. So I'm going to start and show you how we can, the functionality of the core product that you can do with all of these queries, because I'm not going to have time to go through everything here today. So I'm going to start with the report that I think most of our clients are interested in when they purchase the application. So I'm going to go to the user role security class form. Now, we built queries specifically at the form level, but we do have all objects. So if you wanted to get securable types and elements and tables and programs and categories, and those are all available types that you can run these reports on. So our filtering on all these reports is going to work the same way. I can drop down and pick, know exactly what I'm looking for, a contain statement, or I can come down and pick advanced, and we'll build out of your data, it'll build a list of your users, a list of your roles, etc., right? So you're only picking your information. And you can shift or control and select ranges here, add those in, and I'm going to run a report for these users, right? Simple enough. So I'll remove all, and I can do the same thing for all of my roles. So this is where I was talking now, we allow you to filter down to what data you want on the report. This is where you may not want to turn reports like this over to auditors, only because, if there's a trust factor of did you include everything that might belong to a user, because you have this capability. So you could exclude things, which on our Access Analyzer, you don't have that control over. But if you're looking for something specific, a specific user or a specific role, you can do it and pick the filters here. I'll go ahead and run this full report, and we'll let it pull all this data into our report so we can do a number of things with it now. So the standard, kind of Excel things where I can click on a column header and I can sort by form, that's pretty straightforward. I can sort by any one of these column headers just by clicking on the column header. So if I sort by user, what I might want to do is look at this from the top down for a specific user. So I'm going to drag the user up here, and now it groups it so that I know how many objects, in this case forms, are assigned to that user. Well, I may want to actually, let's layer up our grouping and group it by user role security class. So now what I see is like B. Thomas has 9 roles, because that's my next level of grouping. These are the 9 roles assigned. I can see that AC Accountant has 9 security classes. Here are the 9 security classes assigned. And AC Budget has 10 forms. And here are my 10 forms. And I see the available function code, and I see the rule. Now, again, export it to Excel, throw it to a PDF, print it straight to the printer, whatever you want to do there. It's all in the top right corner. So this is pretty straightforward. So on my PowerPoint where I showed you how we navigate from top down, that's really all I'm doing here. I could come back here on the form, any one of these columns, and I can put on a filter. So now that I'm filtering on the data that I pulled into the application. So if I want to, let's just say HR11. So now I see I've got Sammy Christian here has 3 different roles that have access to HR11. Clerical has 2 security classes, and HR Setup actually has HR level 1, 2, and 3 are in HR Setup, and I see the level of access they have. And if I go to HR Setup Inquiry, I see the level of access set up for the inquiry as well. So I can filter down to any particular form that I'm looking for, and it'll give me, again, from the top down. But maybe what I really want to do is look at this inverted. So as I was showing you before, I can come back and I can group this by form and then by user. And I see HR 11.1, there are 4 people that have access to this form. And I now see Sammy Christian has 4 different ways of getting there. So this is where I have some conflicting access. So she has 4 ways of getting there, of which 1 is conditional, 1 is inquiry only, and 2 of them are all access. So all access is going to win in Lawson's world here. And that's what the security analyzer would tell me. But I can flatten that model out too by just looking at the user objects and just say, show me all the objects that are in that without worrying about the role in the security class. So when I go to things like the role security class or the security class form, this is where I would be able to, let's go to role security class, and I can drill up or down through the model. So now I have role and security classes. I can group this by role, and I can sort it by role, and I see AC Accountant has 10 security classes. I could also group this by security class to say, I want to sort it by security class and say, show me everywhere AC Analysis lives, and these are the roles it belongs to. From here, I would be able to drill up to say, show me all the users that have access to that report. Here's the users. Now from here, I'm opening different sheets within the browser. I can drill back down and say, show me everything this user has access to, all the objects. So this is giving me every object now. And again, because I'm just really opening new and building new queries here, I have 1 user. I could group this by type and sort it by type. And now I see element groups. Do I have securable type? Oh, here's element groups here, right? And I have product lines, programs. Here's program access, what level of access. So again, I could have just picked the all object query, or I could drill to that from one of my other reports. So I'll just close these sheets back out, and we go back to where we were. Go back to this one, close this one out. Right? So again, you can do that from anywhere within any of these tools. You can start in the middle, drill up or down through the application. So what I was telling you about before is where I can go to the snapshots. If we've created snapshots, I can go to production here and pick any date and time that I want that I created this snapshot from and report on security as it existed then. So you see I'm going to get the same level of, or the same number of reports. So if I wanted a user group report, or a user role report, excuse me, from then, I just pick user role, and this is my user role assignments on 6/26 of 17. Same kind of thing. I can group by user. So I have the same technology on all of these reports. Now, I can also compare to this. So if I go back to my regular production server and pick my profile and go to user role, what I might want to do is compare this to what are my user role assignments compared to, I'm not sure what I'm going to get here, but I'll probably get some changes. So I get some changes where I've added roles, deleted roles. In this case, I've changed role descriptions. So I can see that I can group it by that, and I can see the number of adds. So in this case, I see what roles have been added to what users, and I can see what roles have been deleted from what users. So if you're just looking for the deltas between security at a point in time and now, you can do this for how a security class was defined, how a role security class was defined. Any level of detail on any of these queries will tell you how it has changed. Now, we don't tell you when it was changed, who made the change, how many changes might have occurred in between those two. That's what our security auditing application would do. So I could drill back and see, boy, who made that change and when was it done, and maybe ask why it was done. What we're trying to tell you here is what has changed over that period of time. So if you're doing security reviews and you have a user role report and all you want, and you get that signed off on, at the beginning of the year, and the next year you might want to run the same report, but all you want to review is really what has changed since last year. So it's a lot simpler process to go through. We'll give you just what has changed from your user role assignments from year to year, so you can go through that review as well. So that's what those do. We also do profile comparisons across servers, and or you can. So if you move let's say you move your production product line from your test environment to your production environment, but it's not working quite the same. What you can do is compare for any particular user. Tell me what's different between my profile that I built in test and the profile that I have in production. So you can do not just historical comparisons, but you can compare different profiles across the same server, different profiles across a different server, same profile across different server, whatever your comparison you're trying to make there, to maybe decipher where you have a problem and why your security is not working like it had been. Now, along with this, I mentioned we have saved reports. So if I click my save icon, you'll have a listing of saved reports here. If there's a clock attached to them, it's a schedule report. You can easily schedule reports once you've saved them. Right-click, schedule the report, click an existing schedule, right? So you can do all this kind of stuff. Where I want to run it once a month. I have a group I want it to email to, finance, and I'm going to send it out in Excel 27 or above and save it. And that report will come back and have a clock on it. That needs to be activated by the administrator, but it's very simple to then automatically have these reports that are automatically emailed to a specific user or group of users with the criteria that you've built into the report. Let me go home. So let me come back here. And let's look at the analyzer real quick, and then we're going to jump into the landmark reporting. So this is where I was telling you where we're resolving those conflicts, and we're only allowing you to pick specific users. So I've got a couple saved reports here. So if I look at my financial user report, what I've done there is I've selected from my list of users the users I want on this report. And that's all I've been able to control is what users go on there. So when I look at this, and I'll go to I'll make this a little bit larger. You'll see here that I have all the users. I'm going to go over down here to the token tab, and I see I have all the roles assigned to them or above the column. B. Thomas, if they're orange, it tells me they have securable type assigned, so that's an override on any security you see. So since they have a securable type for forms of all access, it doesn't matter what I actually see on the report. They're going to get all access. So we want to make sure we identify that on this report. So if I were to scroll down here, I can see the level of access anybody has on one report, and if I were to expand, or any form, and if I were to expand this, let me expand a good one here. You'll see here that AC01.1 for B. Thomas, they have all these different ways of getting to that specific form, but the least restricted of all is all access. So we show you all access here, so that when an auditor is looking at this and they just want to know the level of access someone's going to have, it's going to display that least restricted. And again, the key thing here is we'll have a matching PDF so that you can provide both the Excel document and the PDF. And so your auditors can work with this document, but they can make sure that it wasn't changed by looking at the PDF. And we do this for all the different object types that you see those at the bottom of the screen. But this is great when you're just trying to look at a department, take 10 users in a department, line them up on your report, go down to your critical tokens, and just see what level of access somebody might have to a particular form. But now I want to jump into the landmark side. So I'm going to go to my landmark server, and we'll pull up landmark reporting here. Right, so now I'm in the HCM product line versus the financial product line. And again, you're going to see similar functionality here that you saw on the S3 side. So I'm going to show you how this LPO works. So if I go to Actor All Objects, and this is where I can pick, maybe I just want to pick business classes. So I'm going to come down here and put the type. Hopefully this will build up for me. Okay, that's never good. Let's see if I can just run this report. I think I just potentially wasn't patient enough to just let that build out what all the possible object combinations were. Okay, this is never good, but I think we'll be here okay here in a second. I ran all these reports this morning. I think I have too many objects. I should have filtered it down to just a handful of users. All right, well, that's generating. Let me come back and see if I can just run one at the security class all object level. We'll get one that has a report that's not quite as big right now. Okay, the other one's just got a lot of data. So now what I'm looking here is I'm looking at a specific security class. Now if it has this ST, that means it came from Lawson pre-built. And you'll see here I have my parse LPL. So I can export this now and it actually will work on the export side, where it's going to be, in this case, it's an absent management object in the security class, what is it, direct supervisor. Now if I were to right click on this and I look at the full LPL, this is what that looks like in Lawson. So now when they build a security class, they're going to deliver this. And what you have to be able to do is read through this to determine what kind of access is really provided by the security class. So it's not a list of forms anymore. It's a list of business classes and business tasks and objects or modules. So if I were to scroll down through this, you'll see the amount of text that shows up and why it's not exportable to Excel as full LPL. So within here, you'll see that, so that's just one security class that you're going to have to read through to determine how does this in fact work, or what level of access does somebody get. Now I can search for just business classes up here, and you'll see it's going to filter down to just that, and it'll collapse everything up. So I'm just looking at a business class, which is, again, comparable to a form now, and I can see what level of access somebody's going to have. But you'll see how it reads where it says like how about this? The buy time off request is accessible for all inquiries. And then you get a when clause, and you get and clauses, and you get or clauses. We like to parse that out so you can decipher really what does that mean. So when I come back to my queries here, we've separated out what the object is, what which is that business class, what the operand is, you see is accessible, what the rule is, and what the rule of exclusion is. And again, just like the other reports, you can group this and sort this and filter this on any one of these fields. So if I come back, yeah, okay, so I have 256,000 records here, which is why that took so long. But this will come back, and I'll let this run here. We'll come back here for a second. That's in fact, by actor. So it's all the way up at the actor level. So if I go back, let me just go back home here. There we go. So I have security classes, I have roles, I have just the role security class assignments. We have full LPL also. So if you wanted to see it where it's not parsed out, we actually can do, I'll just do it at security class here so that it runs a little quicker. So what you have here, this is the full LPL. And this is where you're going to have a problem even exporting this to Excel because it's going to exceed the limitations of a cell, the number of characters that can be in any one cell in Microsoft Excel, right? So I can always, again, I can hover over here and see the full non-parsed LPL, but we like to give you, that's why we're giving you everything parsed out now, so you can filter down to just specific modules, business tasks, business classes, that type of information. But we will provide them for both parsed and non-parsed. And you see here, I'm going to have the actor matrices. I'm going to have the role matrix. I'm going to have the system information. We briefly talked about how we can get relationships between them. To kind of anybody that's developing Lawson Security, I got another minute here. I'll show you kind of how this works. So this is data that's inside Lawson now. What's difficult and a challenge when you're working and creating security and building custom LPL or process flows is to know how do I get a field that's related from one specific business class to another business class, and how do I get there? So we build a mapping tool that if I were to pick something, let me go to like AA code, which is a business class, and I'll go to, I think I have one requisition. It's called requisition costs. Let me get down here. Cost reason. All right, we'll pull this one. So if I'm trying to get fields and how they're related, and how do I get to those fields to be able to write my security, we draw this mapping because Lawson only gives you one at a time. So you're going to have to go to AA code to see it's connected to job application and job requisition. Then if you're inevitably you're trying to get down to requisition cost code, you can look at one level at a time without knowing if it's going to actually get you down to the next level. So we'll allow you to click on any of these. We'll allow you to see what the relationships are. We'll allow you to drill into the relationship fields by saying, has this got the field that's going to contain the information I need? Right. And we'll build that mappings to show you the number of different ways you can actually get inevitably where you need to go, which is down to requisition cost reason. For people that are just managing security with role assignments, this isn't going to mean much to you, but anybody that's developing security, this is going to be, we found, our consultants have found this very helpful, and you know, the amount of time that they're saving on determining what the relationships are between these different business classes and the fields, and how do I get from one to another. But that's just standard part of the core product. So I'll close that out, close that out. So this was my actor, my 240,000. But again, I can just sort by actor, I can group by actor, I can group by role, right? So I can group up here, and I can see, I just have a lot of data here. So Ashanti Rowe has 64 roles. I can also group it by security class, same type of thing. Or I can invert it. I can find out every security class that belongs to a role. Any of that type of functionality, same as S3 and for Landmark. So I also have save reports. I also have comparisons, right? We also have historical reporting, notifications. All that functionality is also available in Landmark. So the big deal for anybody, especially running Landmark on-premise, is this whole idea of parsing the LPL and actually being able to export it and work with it, or filter through it and look for specific objects within there. All that core functionality is available there. But if you're just looking for your standard actor role security class report, those are all available too. If you have any question about pricing, I can tell you that the core products, just the security reporting products, are $10,000, right? So it's pretty easy. So if you want S3 reporting, 10 grand. There's a maintenance fee of 18% annually. The implementation, again, takes, just for that one product, takes a day. If you buy both, there is a discount involved when you buy both applications, but either one standalone is going to be $10,000. So there's no reason for us to not just tell you what the pricing is up front. But again, you'll get, with the S3 product, you'll get all the reports I saw on the dashboard, and the security analyzer are included with that. And again, all of our applications work together, so you drill from one to another. So if you had security auditing, you could always see what changed and drill back to the reports. If you had our activity monitor to tell you what people are doing in the application, we actually use a lot of that data to compare to their security reports to tell us what do people have access to that they're using and what are they not using. You get all that type of information. So hopefully it was helpful. I want to wrap it up there. I can stick around a little bit. If anybody's got any questions, go ahead and throw them on the chat. I'm happy to stick around and answer questions for you. But thank you for your time.